Vanessa Lim Singh is the Digital Engagement Specialist for the World Wildlife Fund and handles all the web and social interactions for the WWF's 25 million supporters. She strives to cultivate a passionate and committed audience that's ready to play its part for the good of our planet. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Vanessa Lim Singh.
Thanks so much, and I'd like to invite Alvaro from Tinko International, who I'll be speaking with today as well. So firstly, thank you, Social Bakers, for inviting us to speak here and engage today. Today, together with Alvaro, who we work closely with on our social media strategy and management, we'll be sharing with you how WWF uses the power of digital to build a committed and passionate audience that helps us take action for our planet. To kick things off, I'd like to share a video with you. While it's not something many of us actively observe in our daily lives, we're closely connected to the nature that surrounds us, and it is truly up to us to help protect it. So I'll share with you a bit of background of WWF before moving into the environmental climate we live in today, and then into more digital content. So we were founded in 1961, about 5 decades ago, and today we're present in over 100 countries, amassed over 25 million online supporters, helping us take action for our planet. So now, as humanity, we are at a crossroads in human history. The risks to our common future have never been higher. For example, in 2015, we lived through the hottest year we have ever known in human history. 2016 broke that record. 2017 went down as the warmest non-El Nino year we have ever known. So year on year, we're smashing all the wrong records. Even in our oceans, corals are being bleached at an unprecedented rate. For our wildlife, around 30,000 African elephants and over 100 million sharks are killed by humans every year. So whether it's in our oceans, the forests, we're losing nature all around us and its biodiversity at an incredible rate. And yet, we must point out that the opportunities today have never been greater. Awareness of environmental issue is at an all-time high, and things are changing quickly. So for example, in 2014, the People's Climate March in New York saw around 400,000 people marching down through the streets of New York, demanding for greater action for our home and humanity. So, whether it's religious leaders like the Pope or multilateral agreements on sustainable development, we're seeing lots of positive change, and this gives us hope. So it is not just WWF, but the entire environmental movement that is at a takeoff point. And after a long, hard slog to get the environment recognized as mainstream economic issue, instead of continuously being pushed aside as special interests, we're finally at the main table discussing the future of our home and how we interact with it. And while we have typically relied on our skills such as our passion and determination and the belief in what we do, we're entering a world where attributes such as speed, awareness, agility, responsiveness to fast-changing circumstances will be favored, as I'm sure all of us in this room are very aware of. And it is with these skills that will enable us to take on the many global challenges that we face today. Here are some of them. We have to transform our entire global energy system. So despite the progress in this arena, renewable energy still only makes up some 20% of global energy use, and our current plans to reduce greenhouse gas emissions currently fall far short of the targets we've set for ourselves. But things are improving. So, for example, in 2016, renewable energy set new records. Cost is rapidly falling. States, cities, businesses are starting to commit to 100% renewable energy targets because it makes economic and business sense. Next challenge. We have to produce more food in the next 30 years than we have collectively produced in the last 8,000 years. And this in a world where over 800 million people are undernourished. Water demand will increase by about 55% by 2050. So this means around half of the world's 9 billion people will be living under severely water-stressed catchments. And so we have to meet all of these challenges and lots more while sustaining our life-supporting ecosystems. So what this means is that we have to meet all of these challenges without continuously destroying our planet's resources, the very planet that gives us the resources we depend on for survival. So whether it's the water we drink or the air we breathe, it comes from nature, and we have to protect it. And so, while there's lots of bad news and we're losing nature and its biodiversity at an alarming rate, we must remember that the solutions exist today. So it's going to take collaboration across all sectors of society, from governments to businesses to people like you and I, working together to secure tomorrow. And this video shows us why.
Suppose now shush, she makes the sound she makes to calm me down. Oh.
Together Possible. So in the spirit of collaboration, Together Possible, and taking on these global challenges that we face today, we have aligned our 6 global goals as an organization, so whether it's wildlife, oceans, forests, and our 3 drivers, to dock into the global agenda that has been set forth by the world. So whether we're looking at the Aichi targets that looks at halting the loss of nature and biodiversity, or the UN Sustainable Development Goals that looks at issues such as accelerating climate action, reducing pollution, meeting the demand for water, and more, whatever work we put into our organization as a whole eventually feeds into the larger picture of protecting humanity and our planet. And so specifically leveraging the power of digital, how can we help drive more impact? So first and foremost, we have to be clear on the urgency. We have to convey the urgency to our audiences and show them that the time to act is now. We have to be clear on not just the problems, but the solutions that people can take, and from there, give them the platform to make a difference. So I'd like to share with you the Haze campaign launched by the WWF Singapore team last year. So the haze is a crisis that has plagued Southeast Asia, including us here in Indonesia, since the 1960s. It's an annual occurrence. And essentially what causes the haze is the surge in demand for palm oil. So palm oil is found in many things that we consume on a daily basis. It's found in the breads we eat, it's found in ice cream, it's found in makeup products, it's even found in toothpaste. So to meet the demand for palm oil, some companies are responsible for the illegal slashing and burning of forest land to make way for palm oil plantations. This eventually leads to a huge release of carbon into the air, causing the haze, engulfing many countries in Southeast Asia, affecting businesses, schools, and of course, people's lives. But the thing is, there is a solution today and exists. It's ensuring that brands and all of us start sourcing for responsible and sustainable palm oil. So here's the campaign by the Singapore team. So what the campaign did was to explain the role of the audience very clearly. It showed them the problems, it showed them the solutions, and it showed them why they mattered and empowered them to make a difference. It showed us that there's nothing quite as powerful as mobilizing public, using their voices as consumers, and putting an incredible pressure on businesses to start changing their practices today. And because of this campaign, shortly after its launch, many local brands in Singapore came forward and committed to sustainable palm oil. And so it was a really successful campaign that created real change because of the digital impact that the businesses felt. So a great campaign by the Singapore team. And now, over to Alvaro, who will share with us more about our content strategy.
Can you hear me? Hey. Okay, perfect. So thank you, Vanessa, and thank you, Social Bakers, for the opportunity to be here to talk about what Tinkle does with WWF. So my name is Alvaro. I work for Tinkle, a Spanish agency that we work closely with them, not only in Singapore, but also in the UK, for example, with Alice. So when we started working with the WWF, we had to find out a way to connect with the audience in a way that it's more meaningful than just like posting things like a beautiful picture of a panda and saying, click like if you like panda hugs. Of course, those kind of posts get like thousands of likes, but they don't really help us to build on those areas that Vanessa was saying that is very important. So one of the things that we do is to work with innovative content. And when I mean innovative content, it doesn't have to be something like very, very complex. It can be something just as easy as taking these pictures, for example, that we received from WWF, and make a small parallax. So if you see the background, now it's going to start moving around. So this is something that is not new, that we see that people, they react much better than other types of content. So when we did this for World Environment Day, this is a global day that is celebrated by many NGOs in the world. So one of the biggest supporters of WWF, Leonardo DiCaprio, he saw it, and he regrammed it in his own Instagram profile. We didn't tag him, we didn't ask him to do it, but he just saw that from all the content of all the NGOs talking about World Environment Day, this one was more interesting than the others. So we got an extra exposure of more than 20 million people and more than 500 views, 1,000 views through his profile. So another thing that we do with WWF, it's something that we launched recently in January called WWF Voices using nano-influencers. So we all know about like super celebrities influencers, macro-influencers, micro-influencers, and nano-influencers. So these people are users with maybe around 2,000 followers on Instagram that they do talk about our areas of work, but they don't have a very big exposure. We see these profiles like very interesting in order to have a bigger engagement than through profiles like the WWF, for example, where we are like much bigger, and at some point our engagement rate is lower. So we launched it at the very beginning with a soft launch with a Rhino Week. So the copies were structured in two parts. So the history behind the picture plus a fact sustained by WWF. And then the official launch was done with Wildlife Josh, a great guy, photographer. And we had like very good results talking about orangutans. So here, as you can see, these are the three channels from Wildlife Josh, 12 hours before the launch, and then after the launch of WWF Voices. So it's quite interesting to see the growth of Instagram of the three of them, because Instagram is the one that has experienced the biggest growth of the three of them. So with this collaboration with him and many others that we're working with, I mean, we're seeing a way to reach this audience that they might not be following WWF, but using these other profiles, they can see it. So then the next part, it's something that we saw a challenge at the very beginning, because WWF, I mean, it's working on many, many different areas and many different days. So we found, for example, last year in October, we had to work with Climate Action, the International Day, on the 24th of October. Then, pretty much on the same way, the next day, Sustainability Day on the 25th of October. And then, the 31st of October, World Cities Day. So all these three work on the same pillar of communication, but they can be seen as different kinds of content. So we decided to group them all together into one theme, into one topic, and we decided to call it Living Sustainably as the Key to Protecting the Future of Our Planet. For this, we created a hashtag called WWF Live Green, and we use it not only on Instagram and Twitter, but also on Facebook. Some of you might think that using the Facebook hashtags, it might not be very useful, but it's good. It's good for this kind of small communications to group this post into one main theme. So this, for example, it's the very beginning of the campaign. We call it packages internally. So it's a 3 post, and in these 3 posts, we're giving the audience reasons to understand why they don't need to participate and do something about this. So divided in 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and 3 of 3, we give them different angles and different explanations. And then after showing them the reasons of how to work with this, we give them guidance, as in small tips that they can follow in order to change this. So easy things as, for example, using green energy with the light bulbs, or wooden products with a certification. And going, for example, if it's possible, commute to work by a sustainable transportation. And then at the very end, we do a recap of all this package in order to remind them that this was part of all at one. Not only give them this small guidance, we also give them solutions. And there's this microsite called Urban Solutions that we can drive traffic from Facebook to this microsite for a more deeper level of engagement. However, like Jan was saying this morning, it's very important to pay attention lately to the evolution of Instagram stories as a way to drive more traffic from organic reach, from organic post to your website or to your microsites. So we saw in this campaign that the same post on Instagram stories, it managed almost 1,800 clicks completely organically, when on Facebook we only got 300. So what we were seeing this morning, I mean, the organic reach on Facebook is getting smaller and smaller, and we need to see other places. And Instagram stories is working great for us. Then, as an example, this is a breakdown of the evolution of the stories. I mean, of those ones that you see that there's a 0, I mean, that means because there wasn't a link on those pieces of stories. But as you can see, in pretty much all of them, I mean, we have a pretty good number of clicks on the individual pieces. And also the reactions from the users. I mean, like Tom was saying, just leave the mic open and listen to the users. This is something that we find like absolutely amazing when you ask questions to the users and they get back to you. I mean, for Facebook, they have a pretty good Facebook inbox in order to manage all your messages. But on Instagram, managing DMs, I mean, it might be quite manual, right? So I remember the day that we launched this. I mean, we received more than 200 DMs in 24 hours, and the team was saying, it's like, Alvaro, we need a solution for this because it's too much information to manage from the mobile phone. So as you can see, I mean, there's great messages from the audience. So finally, as a way to recap, I mean, I would like to just put some pointers as in how to engage with the audience. So at the very beginning, you need to convey the urgency. Like Vanessa was saying at the beginning, it's like we need to inform the audience that this is important. They need to be alerted about the issue that we're facing. Then explain the role of the audience. Tell them what they need to do. What do you expect from them? So even though that this could be seen as bad news, we have a solution today. So things that you can do is like buying a sustainable palm oil. Then the supporters interpret your mission. This is something important because you need to give them also a way, to find their own ways to add these solutions to this problem, and then paint the larger picture. You show them how these small actions have a meaningful impact in the big scale. After that, it's very important to celebrate success. If you're always managing this kind of negative communication, as in, look what is happening here and there, it's so terrible, you need to enjoy those small moments of winnings to recap. So at the end of the year, we did this communication on the highlights, on all the winnings that we had with WWF during this year. So the people, they know that their actions have good results. And finally, let your audience drive your brand. This is important because like working with influencer marketing, if you're planning to control the whole message as all, that's going to be impossible. So just leave them to drive your brand, because you might find some very interesting insights about it. So thank you very much all, and see you around.